Vice President of Strategy and Business Development for Zone Americas. And more recently, we have been partnering with Angel Ventures, where we have invested into the more recent fund, Pacific Alliance Fund, in order to create a new vertical in Latin America to invest and support food and beverage startups and creating a food tech committee. So very pleased to be here, honored also to moderate such an inspiring panel. We have around the table, or around this virtual table, some very high profile entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs of very reputable companies in their own markets. So really it is my privilege to welcome you to this panel. We really look forward to having your views in these unprecedented times we are living. I can see we have close to 120 participants around this virtual table. So hopefully we'll have a good discussions. For those participants who are listening to us, thank you for attending. And if you do have some questions, please use the Q&A function of the Zoom. That will be easier for us to get your questions afterwards. Without any ado, I would like to introduce our panelists. Let's start with ladies first, of course. We do have Daphne from Israel, CEO and co-founder of TIPA. We do have Annie Ryu, CEO and founder of the Jackfruit Company. We do have Gonzalo Chiriboga, CEO of República del Cacao, a very well-known premium chocolate brand in Latin America, and as well as David Bermeo, co-founder and CEO of Terra Fertile Nature's Heart, who some of you might know is also on the personal side a very close friend, but also an investor of Nestle, where we have taken a majority interest in the company. So really very thrilled to have everyone here. We should have also David Rabling, CEO of Birdman, a Mexican plant-based protein food company that should be joining. And without any ado, I would like every of our small panelists to take 2-3 minutes to introduce themselves and explain us a little bit about their companies and their background.
Ya estoy conectado.
Okay, David, great. Thank you to have you on board as well. Welcome to the panel. So we have set up here an order of presentation. So I will ask first on Gonzalo to take 2-3 minutes to present us, to give us a brief introduction on himself and his company.
Hi, sorry for the delay. It's Gonzalo taking my place now, or am I gonna?
No, it's Gonzalo. We have an order. Hi, David. We have Gonzalo starting, and then we will have you, and then I will explain everyone.
Awesome. Sorry.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Rethink FoodTech Startups, for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here and share a panel with all these very talented entrepreneurs and business people. So first of all, República del Cacao was born 10 years ago as a premium dark chocolate brand within the ultra premium market. This is a very inclusive business model brand, very strong on brand purpose from the beginning. We launched the brand with the ideas of having a company that puts together a community with small farmers that can have and get enough money of what the cacao market price is allowing them to have. So it's a very inclusive business model with small farmers, and we try to integrate the whole value chain, starting from the farmers, not only of cacao, but also of other raw materials like milk and sugarcane, as well as working with entrepreneurs and chefs that use our chocolate to develop pastries and other products with our product. So this is very strong strategic value chain, and basically our core business is in one side food service. We are very strong in the food service market. We currently export to almost 25 countries. And on the other hand, also the travel retail business, we're very strong in airports with almost 30 boutiques, our own boutiques operated by us, and also within the prime duty-free operators in basically all the continents at this time. And very much into putting the whole community of who we represent, especially all the agricultural process, putting these on top of the table and trying to ask the right questions in terms of having a fair price, putting productivity over everything, so our community can really increase the quality of life. In terms of COVID, to go to this moment, we have had a very strong impact initially of sales.
I think, Gonzalo, sorry if I interrupt you. We will get back to, because that will be the core of our discussion,
okay,
the COVID impact. And I can imagine that for you being in food service and travel, you must have been quite heavily impacted. So I would suggest to park that, because that will be one of our main topics of discussions.
perfect.
So I would suggest we continue with the intro round. Thank you for the introduction. David from Birdman, let's take 2-3 minutes as well to introduce yourself and your company.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Very nice to meet you. And thank you, Angel Ventures and Max Sense, for hosting us today. I'm David Elias. I'm the CEO of Birdman. We are a company with a purpose. Our main aim is to become the main nutritional ally towards sustainability and health-conscious consumers, to help them make an easier transition to more sustainable ways of life through a flexitarian or plant-based diet. Currently, we offer plant-based protein supplements in Mexico and in the US. We are market leaders in Mexico at the moment, and we're starting to expand to new geographies and product categories across the world at the moment.
Great. Thank you, David. That was sharp and concise, and there is a strong brand behind called Birdman. And indeed, for those who are into the vegan and non-dairy diets, I mean, clearly in Mexico, it is quite a well-known brand. So thank you for being with us today, David.
Thank you.
I'll give the floor to Annie from the Jackfruit Company. Interesting to have you on board. So maybe a couple of words on yourself and your company.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. So I'm the CEO founder for the Jackfruit Company. We're the largest single buyer for jackfruit in the world and the largest brand for jackfruit. We operate in the retail and food service segments, primarily in the United States. We also do business internationally. I started the company when I was working on a healthcare venture as an undergrad at Harvard 9.5 years ago. Graduated first in my class at Harvard, went to Harvard Med School briefly, and have been working full-time on building out the Jackfruit Company since that time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And passing on to David from Terra Fertile. A couple of words on your company and yourself.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me in this amazing panel. My name is David Bermeo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Terra Fertile, which is the company that created the brand Nature's Heart. Together with my brother, we started a business by 2018, a company that operated in 7 different markets with 5 factories, and a mission to bring plant-based products to our consumers. We have a wide range portfolio that ranges from dry fruit and nut-based snacks to non-dairy beverages, teas, and a variety of different plant-based products. In 2018, we had the privilege to partner with Nestle, where Nestle acquired the majority stake in our company. And today we are working hand in hand with Nestle across the zone and across the world to bring Nature's Heart to even more consumers we are working together with Nestle to launch Nature's Heart in not only in the markets that we had presence before, but also on new markets, and we are seeing a fantastic expansion of the brand. So very excited to be here and to share our experiences.
Thank you, David. Thank you for being here. And yes, and especially for those in Latin America, I mean, Nature's Heart will for sure resonate for you. You will see, and you have seen this brand in many markets, and more recently in Brazil, where we have launched. And then I would like to hand over to Daphne, who's joining from Israel, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, she's a CEO, co-founder of TIPA, a sustainable packaging solution, which is obviously as very interesting and for the future, and quite a hot topic for the time being. So Daphne, a couple of words on yourself and your company, please.
Yes, first of all, thank you, and it's a pleasure being here today. Yes, we're based in Israel, but we do operate in Europe and in United States and North America and Australia and New Zealand. At TIPA, we develop packaging solutions, especially for the food industry, which are fully compostable, which means the packages that we provide can be treated as organic materials and decomposed like any other organic material in compost, home compost, industrial compost, or other environments. Actually, what we did, the idea came from nature. So nature also packed, for example, nature packed the orange, the banana, the nuts. And what we did is we imitate nature. We provide, as I said, packaging solutions which are fully compostable in one hand, but at the other hand, imitate conventional plastic. So we bring all the good properties of conventional plastic in fully compostable solutions. We've already launched millions of products in the markets. So that's what we do in TIPA.
Great, and well done. I've had a look at your investors, and it's quite a compelling investors you have behind your company. So thank you so much for being here, Daphne, and hopefully, who knows, beyond the panel, you will be in touch with these founders and maybe their companies also. There are business opportunities for you as well beyond the panel. So no, thank you so much, everyone, for this brief intro. As you know, the objective of today's session really is to understand how COVID has impacted and will impact entrepreneurs, will impact your operation, and more specifically, the food and beverage industry. So that's really the core of the discussion today. So basically what we'll have is pretty simple. It's 2 questions, and everyone will have a chance to answer it. One question, which is more looking over the last few months, what has happened, really weathering the storm, and really, I mean, this has hit us hard, and how did you manage through this crisis? That's really question 1. And the second one will be now, how are you preparing going forward, looking forward in this new reality? We all know that unless a vaccine or a treatment is found for COVID, I mean, the back to normal will never happen, basically. So what everyone is saying is, if we get a vaccine, it can take 12 to 18 months. So the new reality we will have and we'll be living in is not here for the next 2 months, is probably going to last for quite some time. So really, these are the 2 questions, is looking back over the last 2 months, how did you weather the storm? And second, preparing for the new reality. So that is the core of the discussion today. So I think with the same order that we just had, I would like to reach out to Gonzalo and answering the first question, which is looking back, I mean, what has happened to your business over the last 2-3 months? And how did you react? And what were the measures you have taken to face this situation? I mean, for sure, as we were saying, I mean, having such a brand exposed to both out-of-home consumption and travel retail, you must have been impacted quite significantly. So yeah, I think it's good to start with you on that discussion. And again, here the idea is to take in between 3 to 5 minutes so that you can answer a little bit this on what has been done over the last 2-3 months.
Great. So basically, yeah, definitely a big impact on our business, food service, and also travel retail. Our sales dropped 85%. So basically, we started selling 15% of what we had in our business plan. And so basically we divided our actions in two main points. The first one goes under the defensive strategy, which was basically our main focus was adapting the company to the catastrophe mode, which we've never lived in. I think any of us, we have lived in a situation like this. So basically these defensive strategies were mainly focused on one side in adjusting our break-even point, renegotiating with suppliers, readjusting conditions with suppliers and teams. It was very, very difficult because at this time we're in the middle of a harvest season for cacao. So evidently having an inclusive business model, being a very socio-economic driven company, we had to be very careful on working with our suppliers and keep on buying raw materials so that the value chain doesn't break, and we maintain our authentic proposal and values on the business. So it was very difficult to maintain all these at the same time of having an 85% drop in our sales. We had to be very aggressive in cash flow management, building a committee of approval, and try to be very cautious on making sure that the company can be sustainable for the long term, but we can keep, putting in front of all our deals that we had in the time. So that was the defensive strategy, which I think it's very similar probably on all of us. So I don't want to go further on that. On the other hand, we built a strong attacking strategy, which was basically how to build a new business plan and reinvent ourselves in such a short time. So on that point, many times probably when you are in a situation like this, you start looking at your side and seeing what can you do differently. But our decision was different. It was we should focus on our capabilities and our core competences. Try to see what we really know how to do, what we are the best at doing, and let's do that, and don't focus on things we're not quite sure on how to do. So we have looked very into what we know how to do, and understand that the scenario changed so much due to COVID. So we started really getting into building experiences on the premium chocolate market. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of capabilities in the food service scenario and area. And in that point, we decided on going on the home baking area very strong. So we started campaigns on the concept is chefs at home. So we saw that consumers were spending time at their home. They wanted to do things with their families. They wanted to do things, just, take time off of what we're living and take your head off of the catastrophe we're living at. And we started developing these very interesting line of premixes and also recipes of doing products at home. And this whole line really boosted sales. Now it has become a very interesting part of our portfolio, which it's pretty new and had to be developed in such a short term. That was a very interesting side. In the offensive line, we have created in the last few years a very interesting concept called pastry, which is basically congress and events for B2B clients, for chefs and pastry chefs. So it's these big congresses that we bring in to the different countries. We're doing these in 6 different countries, and it's just very big events with the B2B clients. And so in the COVID scenario, we developed a pastry connection, so which is basically a similar concept than pastry as an event, but through a digital side. And we've had a really, really good response from our chef allies that really have been supporting all these programs in the day-to-day basis. And also a great response from the B2B community that we serve too. And these obviously is more like not a monetary perspective, because it's more like a, a social perspective in a way. But it has been very interesting. The response and the equity that helps the brand keep growing and keep maintaining a strong top of mind in consumers and clients' mind. On the other hand, we have also developed product as a services. So we have developed a line of different products like chocolate tastings, chocolate pairings, cooking classes through digital. We have a big team of pastry chefs that work for the company, and they have been working on developing products as a services. And this has become also an interesting side of our business model nowadays. And also a strong line of delivery services throughout some of the countries. In fact, we're working together with David on Terra Fertil portfolio as well in this delivery program, which has helped us boost our site. Even the e-commerce side, we have developed a line of e-commerce in quite a short time. This was a new project because, as I mentioned, our core business and our main focus has been the travel retail, which evidently is going to be a very slow recovery market, considering that tourism is probably the worst impacted industry at this time. And even the food service market, which is going to be a pretty slow recovery as well due to COVID protocols and stuff. So these are some of the projects that we have had. Also integrating a lot of our business partners in the food service. We have worked a project that is Chefs to Farm. So basically everything comes normally from the agricultural side to the city. And in this case, we have reversed the project. And now the B2B chefs that work with us have been sending products and projects to the farmers. So this is also a project that has really allowed us to maintain the community together and to show that we're here not just for making money in the time, but to really bring in a culture of community. And in a time like this, so complicated, we have to put our efforts together and try to bring this community alive and try to take the most advantage out of it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Gonzalo. Quite inspiring to listen to that. I mean, focusing on cash flow in the short term, trying to reinventing yourself. I mean, being an out-of-home business towards in-home consumption. I mean, great skills in leveraging digital and the home cooking occasion, and while managing your value and sticking close to your roots in these difficult times. I mean, thank you for your testimonial. I'd like to move on to David from Birdman. Same question to you. Over the last 2-3 months, how have you weathered the COVID storm? What actions have you taken?
So we were a few of the lucky ones. So the first couple of months of the COVID crisis, March and April, we had actually record high sellout through our direct sales channel and also through brick and mortar stores. So the first couple of months were quite good for us, but we knew what was coming. We are operating mostly in Mexico, so we know that things sort of have a delay here. So the collective hysteria or collective panic had a 2-month delay, and we had the chance to prepare to offset the drop in sales and also sort of fix in advance some supply chain issues that might arise later. So what we started doing in May this month, which is the first month where we have observed a drop in sales, 60% in the retail channel. We started investing more money in our digital or e-commerce channel. We hired a new chief marketing officer. We started investing in more digital marketing campaigns, both in Mexico and in the US. And so far this month has also been good for us in terms of sales and profitability, because we were able to increase our sales in the digital channel even more so than what we lost through retail stores. So in sales, we're doing quite well. And I think this was a good opportunity to see that, or to validate that investing in digital marketing really has an effect on our sales. And we are able to get even more profitable sales through our direct to consumer channel than through brick and mortar stores. So we have been, as I said before, some of the lucky companies that have managed to really do well during this crisis. We have had some issues, but they're more related to supply chain, as most of, we do not only commercialize products, we also manufacture them. So, and most of our raw materials come from other countries. So there have been some supply shortages in terms of vegan protein or plant-based protein. And the way we have managed to solve this is to get in agreements with new suppliers that are located more close to Mexico, which is where our manufacturing facility is located. And that has had a negative impact on our profitability because our costs are now a little bit higher, but we know that this is just a temporary thing and has also allowed us to sort of close new partnerships with new suppliers that are able to give us better support than maybe more far away located suppliers. In terms of protective measures that we have taken to protect our operators, because we as a manufacturing company haven't closed our facilities, we have taken different measures to protect them. They're working, but we're taking care of for people. For example, people that have to come to the job with public transportation, we're now offering them free rides with Uber, individual rides, so they can avoid getting in touch with people that might have the disease or are infected by the virus. And we also are doing screenings before they enter the facilities, temperature screening. We are monitoring that they're using antibacterial gel on their hands, that they're always wearing a mask on their faces, that sort of thing, so that we're able to keep operations going, but also keeping our personnel safe. For example, people that are older than certain age and also have certain indicators that they might be at risk of having a serious disease through COVID-19, they're not working at the moment. So we decided to sort of decide which people or which teammates are actually at risk with COVID-19, and we are giving them a rest. But people who are young and are healthy and for which COVID-19 is not really a threat to their health or their families, they are still working just with protective measures, because we at Berman think that we cannot keep this paralyzation of the economy until everyone becomes sick. So we internally decided that it's best to identify which people are actually at risk and take measures to protect them. And the other people which are not really at risk should continue with their activities, because otherwise I think the economic impact of the COVID-19 is going to be worse than the health impact that it's going to have in Mexico. We in Mexico are located in a place where most people live on a day-by-day basis, right? So what they earned the day before, they used to eat the next day. So people cannot stop their activities. And also social security services are not really good. So it's not like they can stop working forever or for a long period of time and keep providing for their families. So we internally took the decision to make this sort of segregation of people at risk and not at risk, to sort of give a push to the economy and not contribute to public hysteria and a paralyzation of the economy.
Okay. All right, thank you for your insight, David. I mean, you probably are one of the few startups or companies that are hiring in these crisis times. So well done. It's good to see that you're investing. I think there is something sometimes that people do confuse, is a difference in between cost and investment. And sometimes in crisis time, it is also a time to invest, which is what you're doing with hiring this new CMO focusing on digital. So while at the same time protecting your people. So thanks for your comments. I would like to hand over to Annie on the Jackfruit company. I mean, how did you weather the storm over the last few months?
Yes. So the first thing was ensuring the health and safety of all of our employees and our partners. So that was, in the United States, working from home and staying connected virtually. A relatively small team of senior leaders working together in an office is not a good idea when you've got a virus that can be spreading for 14 days asymptomatically. So had everybody working from home, and that's been working out really well for us. And then at our manufacturing facilities, making sure that all of the right protocols are put in place to ensure the safety of workers. Second was ensuring no supply chain disruptions. So we also saw a surge in retail demand and then expected a decline in food service demand. So we saw that coming before it hit, really, with the college and universities shutting down, restaurants shutting down, corporate cafeterias shutting down. We knew that we should expect the demand to go away a great deal, if not entirely, for a period of time. So we increased our production for retail, reduced our production for food service, and then just constantly we're scouring our entire supply chain from the start of harvesting fruit to the end of getting product on shelves to make sure that there were no disruptions. Third was reassessing our growth plan. So assessing what kind of demand we had assumed before, how that was going to change. So really, what demand had we planned for that was going to go away, and what were new areas where we could capture new types of demand, leveraging our infrastructure. So really replanned the sales side of things, and then looking at that relative to our expenses. We wanted to make sure that we had a long enough runway. We've generally gotten the advice from investors who are current stakeholders or outside potential future partners that you should try to have at least 18 months of runway. So we really analyzed our growth plan and figured out a way to preserve that. Beyond that, it's been assessing how do we go about executing our growth plan. So some of our growth plan involves bringing in a large number of additional manufacturing partners, and in that process, vetting out how has the crisis impacted each one of them. Because a manufacturer, for example, who primarily services the food service segment, a number of them are dealing with great challenge right now, trying to be able to support the infrastructure that they had prior to COVID hitting. So assessing our partners base and making sure that we're able to rely on the partners we'd plan to rely on, and then going ahead and proceeding to implement our updated growth strategy.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, clearly a lot of companies are doing like you're doing, putting health and safety of employee first, at most important, and then trying to manage the short term. I mean, ensuring supply is definitely an issue for all of you, for all of us in the industry. I liked what you're saying on involving your stakeholders. I mean, clearly this probably is difficult to manage alone, and involving all your stakeholders and working together is a good input, is a good example. Thank you for that. David from Terra Fertile, what about you over the last 2-3 months? How did it go?
Thank you. For us, what we have seen is an acceleration on trends that were already happening. For example, we've seen an acceleration on e-commerce and on trying to find different route to market. So we are seeing, even in countries that historically have had low penetration for e-commerce, tremendous growth on these platforms. And the second is an acceleration on better for you products, which is what Nature's Heart has historically tried to offer our consumers, always healthier alternatives on food products. So we are pushing forward very strongly on those two fronts. our main business goes through traditional retailers who have seen growth on sales. So our sales have been so far good. However, we need to look medium term and long term, and for that we are putting a lot of effort into these 2 points: the route to market and healthier products that we can bring to our consumers. The second point has already been mentioned, is taking care of our employees. You know, that has been a key priority, but not only on the different measures to prevent people from getting sick, but also to work on the employee morale. You know, you have a lot of issues on people, family members that are getting sick, and just the entire uncertainty of what's going on. You know, so we've been trying to give our employees support and guidance, and reassure them that the company is here to support them. You know, these are definitely times of a lot of uncertainty for everybody. So overall, those are the things that we are doing. We believe the world will change post-COVID. I'm sure things will stabilize sooner rather than later, but there will be trends that will stay, and one of those trends will be the healthier eating habits, and that's where we believe Nature's Heart has a right to win, and where we plan to put a lot of our efforts to capture that opportunity.
Thank you, David, for your words. I think I'm reflecting on the acceleration of trends. I mean, without any doubt, this is there will be an after and a before COVID-19. I mean, the e-commerce. I was looking at some numbers in some of the markets. I mean, it took 2 months what was expected to happen in 3 to 4 years. So this is quite amazing when we look at e-commerce penetration in some of those countries. Thank you for sharing your views. And then moving on to Daphne on sustainable packaging. On how did it go for you?
Yes. So first of all, I agree with all the previous speakers and my speakers on the panel, because I think the trends are more or less the same in the food industry. So food and non-food industry, we see more e-commerce and food service companies and demand coming from that side. For us as a company that is based in Israel, I mean, the headquarters is based in Israel, and then we have branches around the world. First of all, the most important thing was to support our existing clients and to make sure that they get the goods and provide all their needs. And so there are food companies, and we had to make sure that they get all the packages that are needed in order to provide more and more quantities into the market at the needed time. So there was first priority. Of course, we felt changes in the market during March and April, and also in May. But as a manager, the company management together with the board, we decided to take this time and invest more in building infrastructure for the company growth to come post-COVID and during COVID as well, and to promote our business in several ways. One of the benefits of our company is the way that we operate our operationals, the operational model. So we work with partners around the world. We do not manufacture in Israel or other parts of the world. We manufacture in several places around the world. So the fact that we had factories working with us in Europe and other places enabled us to continuously manufacturing and delivering the packages. And there was the good side of the operational model that was established way before, but worked for us in our benefit in this period. As a management, we believed it's going to be a period of time that we're going to feel a slowdown in business and maybe major changes, but it's a period of time. So there was post-COVID and pre-COVID, and things will change. I think that at the point of looking at what's going to change in the market, we try to look at the COVID period and have conclusions. that we can share with our customers and with other companies in our area, supply chain companies, like companies that present here in the panel. I think two main conclusions I can take from the COVID period. One of them, that there is a strong connection between the health of the world and the health of the human beings, and we see that connection. And I think one of the main messages that we try to spread in TIPA is that if we as human beings take care of the world, we will be more healthy. So there is a connection between the health of the world and the health of the human beings. And I think it's very important. It's one of the conclusions that we have to keep pushing to the world. And the second one is, if there's a need, the humanity can adjust the behavior and change the way of living if there's a need. We saw that happening immediately once COVID was here. People changed the way they live, changed the way they walk, changed the way they actually can adopt changes very quickly. And we saw the result. The world is in a better place. So given that behavior change and the connection between the health of the world and people, I think we have to keep on adopting those changes and pushing those messages around. In terms of the company, the employees, we kept working as we did before. R&D and manufacturing operations kept working from the offices, while sales and marketing worked from home. That worked perfectly for us. And I'm glad to say that we work more or less the same as before throughout this period. And of course, it's not over yet, but hopefully we'll see a benefit coming from this period.
Okay, well, thank you, Daphne. I like your words on adaptability of people. I think the simple fact that we're having this panel today in this format is a good example of how we adjusting to the new reality. So thank you for that. Look, these are great examples, and I think it will be, of course, of great interest for all of the audience. Thank you all for your inputs on how you've been managing the last couple of months. This is super inspiring. We have like 10 minutes left before moving to the Q&A, and I would like to do the same question, and now looking more forward for the next few months. And maybe what I will ask you is just each of you give me your two main priorities going forward, and pretty fast, so that we have time to discuss afterwards. The Q&A will be managed by Hernan and Camilo. For mine, I will have a hard stop at 10:30 our time, so 11 minutes from now on. So let's start with Gonzalo again. If you could share with us your two top priorities for the new reality for the next few months.
Sure, thank you. I think that trying to be as brief as possible on these two ideas. First, it's a point of, I think that the concept of locally is going to be very strong in the future. The countries are going to go through a very tough recovery on this COVID scenario. And I think that as startup brands and newcomers in the business, we're going to have good opportunities. Consumers are going to be very interested in supporting efforts with strong brand purposes, and in the past, global companies and global brands were becoming every day stronger and stronger. But in a way, globalization has also taught consumers the value of locally produced and local companies and local brands. And I think this is one of our very strong points here. We have a lot of purpose and a lot of locally made products, and this is a very strong point. And the other point I would like to raise is, in a way, authenticity. I think that we as a B Corp company, we are try to put and raise very strong questions on top of the table in a way. I think that not only COVID, but when you see regions like Latin America, for example, right now we're only speaking about COVID, but in the past, in a few months behind, there was a very big social struggle in communities. And this is something we have to ask ourselves as company leaders. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? You know, capitalism as itself, is capitalism asking the right questions? Only talking about efficiency, only talking about profit, only talking about productivity. Is this the right questions to ask? Or is society trying to get different answers from companies? In a way, we really need to think about authenticity, about companies have to start doing what they say they're doing, but not only telling stories to sell, but to really show the community that we have stronger things behind this, because society is looking for this. And this is why I think when you see talent, I'm talking about the human resource talent for the companies, and the big talent of the universities right now, they're not really talking about going to big time firms or big time corporations or big time banks. They're talking about starting a business that could change the life, that could change the world of people. And this is what we have to focus on as leaders, to raise the right questions and to focus our strategies to really solve these problems that we're dealing with, that are not only COVID problems or post-COVID problems, but really social issues as a whole.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Passing on to David and Berman from your end, what are the two top priorities in this new reality?
Okay, so I think looking forward, what we're gonna do in regards to what this crisis has.
We can't hear you.
To consumer strategy, really leveraging the brand crisis, and we also think that people after this crisis are going to start buying more through online platforms, especially the products like the ones we sell. So we're starting to invest more in digital marketing and all the digital strategy. And the other thing that we think that's going to change radically after this crisis is the way of working. So before the crisis, everyone, even the administrative personnel, were working full-time on premises. And what we're seeing now that during this crisis, we have actually managed to be able to work remotely. And that has given our employees and our teammates the chance to have more flexibility on their working schedules and achieve a better life and work balance without compromising results. And looking forward, that's a great thing to change, right? Giving people the opportunity to work more with more flexibility. And as a company, that also poses a challenge, because when people are not working on premises, they're sort of working only on day-to-day operations, because those are the things that the company oversees through key performance indicators. So now we're rethinking our strategy in redefining also other kinds of performance indicators for additional work that people might have done before on premises, but was not recognized before or was not awarded. So now we're establishing for each employee or each job position a set of new performance indicators which talk about how much are employees contributing to improving the processes in the company, to improving sales, to improve also personal morale and that sort of thing, so that they can also feel that even though they're not bound in a way to their desks, they can be working on things that might action a promotion for them or might get them recognition within the company, even though they're not being directly overseen on premises, right? So I think that's a good thing, that the situation has forced us to sort of modify or expand our job description so that we can also establish KPIs for this sort of work that was being done daily on premises, but was not really being monitored or recognized, right? I think that gives employees a real chance to stand out and really numerically be able to get through promotions and recognition.
Okay. Thank you, David, for that. In the meantime, as we prepare for the Q&A, you have this Q&A little button on Zoom. So for the audience, feel free to pop in your question. There are already quite a few of those, but as a quite kind remember, you can use that function. I'm passing over to Annie. What about you? Two things in this new reality.
Yes. So the two biggest things that we're focused on this year haven't changed a great deal. We were very focused on innovation. And so as we think about innovation, our go-to-market strategy for implementing that changes takes more of a focus on retail, more of a focus on e-commerce. But until that launch point, we're focused on development and commercialization of that innovation that we think is still extremely well positioned to meet consumers' needs for plant-based foods. And then the other piece is supply expansion, as I mentioned, was a big initiative for us before COVID and remains a big initiative, really driven by the demand we forecast once we get the innovation out there.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for your sharp answer. Moving on to David from Terra Fertile. Just repeating, I apologize for that. I will have to have a hard stop in 2 minutes, but Hernan and Camilo will take over on the last question and the Q&A. But David, the floor is yours.
Thank you. For us, I agree with what Gonzalo was mentioning. I think one of the main key components is giving back and being true to what you as a company say that you're doing, and actually following through and having a responsibility towards the your surroundings. So I think it will be more, this give back proposition will take even more predominance in the time to come. And the second, I already mentioned in my previous comments, is for us it will be really working on healthier alternatives for our consumers. You know, really truly bringing healthier products to our consumers that can help all of our lifestyles and give us healthier alternatives.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Look, before Daphne, I move on to you for your comments. I would like to thank you all for your participation. The chat is not over. Please stick to it. I am just myself excusing some kind of last minute top-down kind of imperative, so I'll have to attend. But I thank you very much for your insights. I think it is extremely insightful. We'll congratulate also all of you for weathering the storm and what you have created so far. And thanking you so much for your insights. Daphne, the floor is yours on the next priorities, and I really hope to have a chance to see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel.
Thank you. So my quick 2 points is one of them, one of the results of the COVID is that we use much more plastic. I mean, everything is packed. Even things that were not packed before pre-COVID are now packed. The damage that we're going to pay for it. I mean, the planet is going to pay for it. And even if we don't stop it or immediately change the materials that we use and just use and throw away, it's going to be a disaster. So one of the things that we're going to focus is, of course, increasing the awareness and changing from conventional plastic to other materials like ours. That's part of the messaging that we're going to that we already focus on. And so, of course, it's increasing our growth and our footprint in the market. And the second thing that we're going to focus on is the damage of microplastic that all the world is talking about, but explaining it and transferring it to the public to understand what's the damage that we actually explore to by using more and more plastic. We have to actually translate it to real life and to understand what it causes and what are the available alternatives in order to reduce that damage. So those are the main two new things that we're going to focus on.
Thank you very much. And before we move on to my partner, Hernan Fernandez, to manage the Q&A section, and please continue to ask your questions in the Q&A part of the application. And then on to our venture partner, Christos Mastoras from Iliad Partners in Dubai. We're going to launch a poll that we would be very, very grateful for all participants, if you could take a couple of minutes to answer, just to let us know where you're joining from and what you thought overall. Thank you very much. Hernan, please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. And, we have amazing insights from very rockstar entrepreneurs that were handpicked from different parts of the globe. So in that sense, we thank you very much for participating. Just a very quick announcement. Remember that the Rethink series is scheduled also for Thursdays. So usually what we do is Wednesday, we have entrepreneurs, share their opinions and perspectives. And then on Thursdays, we're going to have VCs and corporates on the same topic. So Maxence will rejoin tomorrow as well, now as Nestle. And we're going to have top VC funds like Blue Horizon or Omnivore from India. Blue Horizon is based in Europe, but doing investments global. The head of Uber Eats for Mexico and parts of Latin America. Among many others, interesting insights. So now for the questions and answers from this section, we have a lot of questions. I'm gonna have to do my best to cherry pick and kind of like give a broad perspective on things. So the first question is from Lara from Dubai, and she's asking, as a food waste reduction and reusing food surplus are becoming increasingly the main focus of many countries and startup initiative investments, how are your companies contributing to a more circular economy? And this part of obviously the panel is, feel free to take a stab, anyone from the panelists regarding any of these questions. So this sounds like Daphne may have an interesting perspective, but anyone feel free to jump in.
On circular economy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Circular economy, food waste reduction, and how are companies reducing food surplus, since this is becoming increasingly the main objective for any startups and government initiatives.
Yes. Well, it's very right. Food waste is almost 30% or 33% of our solid waste. So it's a huge number. And the bright side of things is that governments, for example, the EU and other governments are taking steps into handling that waste separately from other waste. So, and obviously compost system and anaerobic digestion systems will be starting to be used all over the world. It's going to take probably a few years, but that's a good thing. So, and the way we look at it is that the food that we pack can actually go with the packaging to those systems. So that actually reduces a huge amount of plastic and a huge amount of packages that currently don't go anywhere. So so that's part of the circular economy of approaching how to handle food waste and packaging together to reduce the damage of the food waste and packaging worldwide. The way that we look at packaging has to be, I'm talking now about TIPA, about our solution. We focus on flexible packages that cannot be recycled. And we offer actually a solution of organic recycling. So that's a recycling of taking materials taking all, just imagine all the packages that we use, put it in a compost system, and all those packages become soil or fertilizer that can be used again to grow the next plants for the next materials. So that's a circular economy approach to first of all, to stop the damage of plastic and to bring packages can actually do good to the world. So that's our contribution to the circular economy approach.
Okay, thank you, fantastic. Now, we have a second question that, says that since most panelists are making healthy and fit products, he's asking how much of an impact should we expect in consumer behaviors towards these type of products in the post-COVID market? And he's specifically asking if there's any facts or arguments to be made about this. So maybe David Birdman, I think that's a good cue for you, but anyone feel free to jump in as well.
Yes, of course. So what we have seen during the crisis is that people are actually, during the crisis, starting to look to buy healthy products to maintain their health and avoid getting sick by these new diseases. And I think this new perspective that has come, which has allowed people to give more value to their health, is going to make them look for healthier alternatives in the future, and also look for products that are enriched in certain vitamins to naturally maintain their immune system and avoid some metabolic diseases like diabetes and obesity. So I think for the type of products that we are manufacturing, commercializing, this is a good opportunity, and I think we're going to see a steep growth in our market.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Very, very concise. There is another question that is very interesting. I'm trying to phrase it properly, but he's asking about, how will retail space change in this COVID crisis, right? And he's asking, how will you experience offerings that will change with obligated space between customers due to social distancing? Are you planning on developing an experience design area within your companies? I guess this goes towards, how are we also envisioning the new retail to be, or at least for the time being, that there needs to be like some social distancing in place, and there will be like potentially fewer consumers, and perhaps, you have to find better ways to communicate or to stand out, the key parts of your value proposition to become competitive. I don't know if any one of you guys want to take a stab at that. If we can have probably David or Cacao Republic or someone else who has not spoken, or I'll take you back to David.
Sure, I can go on this one. Yeah, basically, evidently, there's going to be a big change in retail. I've seen a few questions also, not only in terms of the protocols themselves, but how will e-commerce in a way affect the retail? And I think we as retailers, because our core business is, as I mentioned, food service and travel retail, but in travel retail, we operate our own shops. So we as retailers have to develop a completely new experience within the stores. Obviously with the COVID protocols, and this has definitely been a change, because in a way, right now consumers that are going to a mall or an airport, their big challenge right now is not necessarily getting into a retail. They're avoiding walking in. So we really have to make an experience that allows them to go in a comfortable way. And this is quite a big challenge, and this is what we have been working in terms of protocols. But I think that also as an e-commerce approach, I think it's an omni-channel. We as retailers and we as brands have to develop this omni-channel approach and try to get the most out of each of the channels we are attacking. Definitely, brands have to reinvent themselves to build in experiences in each market. In the e-commerce, it's more a convenience point. In the retail, it's more an experience, more leaving the product, the tasting, the product. It's completely different approach. And these are some of the changes and challenges we have to deal with in this new future.
Interesting. And there's now I think a very interesting question, and it also speaks generally. So I would love to hear your take on this. And they are mentioning, setting aside the current company that you're working in, and given the current trend and situation that you're seeing in the food tech industry, what kind of company would you start today and why? And I think this goes pretty much across the board. So happy to hear from everyone your thoughts.
Maybe I take that one. I think everything about, for example, Daphne was mentioning, but recycling. I think there's this whole new, which I think is great, focus on the planet, and that we really need to take care about our environment. And if the planet is healthy, we are healthy. We are in the. I was mentioning before that for us, bringing healthier products to our consumers, it's key on our strategy, but also keeping the planet healthy. So if we're going to start a new business, if I were to start again, I will look into those trends, into what are we going to do with plastic? How are we going to recycle? How are we going to collect it? How are we going to, so all of those different parts of the value chain on waste management, I think it's something that that there's a lot of space, especially in LATAM.
Okay. And anyone want to take a stab at that same question?
I can agree to that.
I think I have a point just to complement. I don't know if Annie was going to say something. I already talked.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to say something. I was just going to say, I mean, I think this is also a nice time to be able to just be building something in stealth mode or not. I mean, it's kind of, if you're building a startup right now, it's unintentionally stealth mode anyway, because to put out PR when everything is going on right now is just not. It's a challenging proposition, and a lot of folks are staying quieter. So I think things that are great business ideas, that a lot of those great business ideas are still great business ideas even in the time of COVID. So if that business idea you had is still a great idea, if that marketplace hasn't changed dramatically, this is a great time to be building and have something ready by the time things are a bit more normalized.
Can I comment on something on this point? I think that one of the really strong points that our companies have built on this crisis is, and our teams have been, resilience. And I think that these process of reinvention in such a short term, in a way, I think that this question, why ask or why answer this question in a new startup or in a new business? But I think that this resilience that has showed our teams can tell us that we can rethink our companies, not only thinking as what we could do with a new company, but we as companies are game changers in terms of society. And I think we have to question ourselves if some of our business models that we have started still make sense, and if not, we need to adjust to what the society is asking for and the consumer wants at this point.
No, fantastic. I think that these are all very very interesting insights. And as we are reaching the end of the panel, two very quick things. First and foremost, a lot of comments have been asking to get in touch with you guys. So I wonder if probably you can share your websites or Twitter handles, etc. Or we can probably also do that offline to the participants. But at least we have 4 or 5 comments from people trying to get in touch with the different companies, right? So again, I think a big part of being this global community of emerging market entrepreneurs is about inspiring and helping out other entrepreneurs or who knows, maybe many of these companies can also help your business grow. So, very excited to do that. And yeah, and as a final reminder, I don't know if anyone wants to have like a quick, close-up comment, very brief regarding any of these questions. And just to remind everyone about tomorrow's panel, again, it's going to be VCs and corporates taking on some of the same challenges and questions that the food tech industry is facing today. And we're expecting, a very interesting conversations on some topics that perhaps were not addressed today, and some questions we're reflecting on the necessity of artificial intelligence in many of these like processes, the new retail versus the old retail and how that's going to happen. So I think that's going to be also a very, very good panel for you to share many of these questions and opinions as an audience. So I don't know if anyone has some, parting message to share. But if not, then I think that I'll give the word to close the session to our partner, Christos Mastoras from Iliad Partners.
Hello, everyone. This is Christos from Iliad Partners. I just wanted to also thank you from my side as one of the hosts for joining us today on the first panel of food tech, and a big thank you to our panelists. As Hernan said, tune in tomorrow at the same time for the second food tech panel with VCs and corporates. We have some great players from the space, including Susana Garcia Robles, Sufur Ventures from Kuwait, Nestle, Uber Eats, Blue Horizon Ventures, and Omnivore. And with that, good evening and greetings from across emerging markets, including Mexico City, Dubai, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much from Dubai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.